Hi guys, my name is Sage, and I'm going to share with you a story that saved me money and perhaps will save you money as well. The only materials that you need for this is an overweight cat or an obese cat or a cat that eats too much, which usually makes them bigger or obese. It also would be good if this cat was quite hungry. So, in other words, if he or she was on a diet. This is Uno, my cat. Do you want to say hi, babes? You want to say hi to the camera? Who's that up there? Oh, sorry. Come here. There you go. Hi, Uno. Look what's that. Sweetheart, come on. Okay, so this is Uno, my cat. And she has a major problem. Actually, she has a pretty bad problem, and it's pretty sad. But I'll share it with you anyways. Okay, is that okay? Okay, Mama will share your story. You see, for most of the day, Uno chews her fur. It's gone beyond chewing where it's more like mutilation, where she self-mutilates and she tears her fur off to the point that it's bleeding. Stop mutilating! She's been to the vet, and after multiple investigations, which didn't show anything, she's been diagnosed with OCD, which stands for Obsessive Compulsive Disorder. Her hair-chewing OCD has been so bad that this is what it turned into at its worst point. Also, don't mind the fact that she only has one eye. No, she's not winking or half asleep, and yes, I have been asked those questions. You know, Uno has been pretty obese most of her life, and that's kind of sad given that she's only 3 years old. And she has been on multiple diets, which has failed quite miserably. So I know you're dying to find out how to get a free haircut and how your cat can do this for you. You see, I work as a resident doctor, and one night I was on call, and I was sleeping beside my pager, which happens a lot when you're a resident. It's not easy to get a good sleep when you're on call. Basically, if you do sleep, it'll be a light sleep, and you have nightmares about your pager going off, and when your pager does go off, it's one of the worst feelings you could possibly ever have. So I was on call that night, and I was sleeping beside my pager. And, you know, Uno was just being her usual sweet self. She's a really sweet cat. Every night she sleeps right beside my face, sometimes in my face, and sometimes she sleeps right around my head, and that's just her normal routine. She's my baby, and we cuddle a lot. And as I mentioned, Uno's been really struggling with obesity. And at the time, she was on one of her many diets to the point where, you know, every time I was home or before I went to bed, she would be begging me for food because she was really hungry. And it actually got to a point where she'd be eating things that she shouldn't have, to the point where I had to start hiding things around the house to make sure that she didn't eat it, which is a hard thing to do considering I can't hide everything. For example, she ate one of my pajama strings and developed a bowel obstruction, which unfortunately had to be surgically removed out of her esophagus or food pipe at the cat hospital. This also has been one of her many surgeries she had. She's not a very healthy cat in general, so... Anyway, so it was about 1:30 in the morning, and I was having a really good night on call, wasn't getting paged, it was great, so I was actually able to sleep, which was really nice for me. But then I woke up like around 1 or 1:30 to the sound of vomiting. And, you know, I was actually really worried. I thought it was my pager going off for a minute. And, you know, it was kind of dark in the room. And I'm like, oh, no, my poor baby. She must have puked up another hairball, which she does all the time, you know, because she self-mutilates. So, you know, I turn on the light to go clean it up, and, you know, I see a big black hairball on the pillow, which, you know, was kind of sad, but then I just realized that, you know, she has white hair and not black hair, such as myself. So it suddenly clicked. And, you know, I turned on the light and I ran into the bathroom and turned on the light and looked in the mirror. And it turned out that the top of my head was mangled and half bald. And I had to go to clinic the next day. She was so hungry that she ate my hair. And she did it in the context of being used to chewing hair from her obsessive compulsive hair chewing disorder. Now the question is, you know, should I actually really feel guilty over this? I mean, should I feel guilty for not giving her enough food? I'm actually feeding her just as much as a cat her age and size should be eating. It's just that she's hungry all the time. And, you know, I really don't want her getting any chronic diseases associated with cat obesity. So, you know, should I feel guilty? I kept her on the diet anyways, and she lost some weight. And then my pager went off, and it was terrible. Now, I already have some crazy hair. Like, it's been described as mad scientist hair. I don't think I'm that mad, though. You know, but this half-bald, mangled mess on top of my head, like, it looked really unprofessional, like the kind of hair that doctors shouldn't have at all. But, you know, actually, I want to say in the end that it turned out to be quite a blessing, because when I went into clinic the next day, I actually got a lot of compliments from my patients and from, like, the other residents and the doctors that I was working with. It was awesome. And, you know, it even got to a point where I was in clinic seeing a patient, and one of my patients asked me, "Oh, your hair is so cool. Who does it for you?" And, you know, I told everybody the story all day. You know, the story's kind of in my head, so I didn't really, you know, think about explaining myself. I must be crazy. But, you know, I said, "Oh, my cat did it," without realizing that I didn't explain the situation to them. So, and then there was this really awkward silence because I didn't want to get into a long story. And we just kind of stared at each other. And I don't think that patient's ever going to come back to see me again. On a final note, I just want to let you know that Uno is getting help for her OCD. In fact, I might make another video on that, on how I have had to be a little bit creative to help her with her OCD, given that medications make her drowsy. And, you know, she already has a history of seizures, so I don't want to mess around with, you know, mixing medications and stuff. So anyways, I'll talk more about that later. And that's all for now. Please subscribe so I can make more cat videos. And have a good weekend.